Hey guys, how's it going? It is a gorgeous, crisp day here in northern New Jersey, and we are going to get out here and start doing some fall cleanup. Now, I know when I first started gardening, there was a lot of confusion in terms of the fall cleanup because you hear a lot of schools of thought of cutting things back, don't cut things back, the wildlife and things like that. So it can get really confusing in terms of what to cut back and what not to cut back. There are a lot of different schools of thought out there. And really, what you just want to make sure of is to do what you think is right for you. And honestly, it's also a lot of experimentation. What I really focus on are things that I know are going to be disease prone once the frost hits. So, for example, hostas are a really good example of that, and lamb's ear. They almost get like slimy once they get frost on them. They do eventually die back to the ground, but all that ends up doing is attracting more pests. Things that have seed heads on them, such as coneflowers, those do still feed the birds, so I won't touch those. I will let those be. But if you don't want them to seed around your garden and potentially cause volunteer plants next year, you might want to think about that if you want to cut them down or not. Grasses for me. So last year I had left a lot of the tall grasses up around the property, and honestly, it just became a nightmare by the time springtime rolled around because it looked so sloppy and it was so dried out that the pieces of it were flying all over the yard. It was flying onto the neighbor's yard. And I really just didn't like the look of it. So I will be cutting those down. They are in their prime right now with their seed heads, so I'm not going to touch them. But maybe in a couple of weeks, I will probably take some pruners to them and cut those back. But today, what I really want to focus on are really just the hostas and anything that I know won't force growth between now and until it gets to be really, really cold. If I look at the 10-day, the days are going to be somewhere in the mid 60s, the nights are going to be somewhere around the 40s and 50s. And those temperatures are not conducive to growth, but it can happen. And what would happen is the shrub or whatever it is that you're cutting back may force new growth, and that new growth will die off when it gets really cold, thus causing some more problems than it's necessarily worth dealing with. So today we're just going to focus on hostas, and also I'm probably going to pull out my geraniums. Now, my mom used to overwinter geraniums in their pots in the basement. I had read about this new trick of actually taking the geraniums out by their roots and storing them in paper bags. So I want to try and experiment with that this fall to see if that works and how that will come out in the springtime. So come along with me for that journey if you want. And we're just going to have ourselves a nice fall day out here. Now, the other thing that I want to mention about hostas, not only do you want to cut them back, but now is also a great time to be dividing them and putting them around your yard if you have bare spots that you want more hostas in. So literally all you do is you dig it up out of the ground and you take a shovel and you slice it right down the middle and you plant it wherever you want it. Nothing happens to it and it grows back just as big and beautiful as next year. Another tip that will help you from a cost saving standpoint, hostas are great, but they can get really expensive at the garden center if you're buying them already in a large size next year. Now is a great time to buy bare root hostas, and literally it comes exactly how it sounds. It's just the root of the plant, and you can dig them right into the ground and then they'll sprout up beautifully next year. I often get mine at Eden Brothers. It's a great way to get a bunch of different kinds of hostas at a very economical cost. So check that out if you guys are interested, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is what we are left with. Really not much to look at, which is the whole point of this entire exercise, is to cut them back down to the ground. And then hopefully you guys saw up there at the top of the hill where Leo is currently sitting at his post. I split a couple of hostas up and I moved them down here. I'm probably going to water them in just because it's a dry spot, and then that's all I'm going to do. I also cleaned up the leaves. That's also another controversial thing. Some people say that it helps with, again, all the beneficial insects and things like that. And yes, that is very true. It gives the beneficial insects a place to hibernate over the winter season, but it also gives the non-beneficial insects and all the pests a place to hibernate over the winter season as well. And since I did battle some pests this year, such as lanternflies and whitefly and some thrips, I just wanted to get the debris and the leaves out of the garden bed and thrown away. So while we're here, I'll also give you a quick update on the hill garden that I had done a video on a couple of weeks ago. Everything still looks really, really good. The cascading hydrangeas are actually still blooming. They look really pretty. The rose bush over here still looks really good. The spiderwort right over here, those still have some bloom heads on them that I have dotted around. So everything's still looking really good. The drip is still running. That will still probably continue to run for another week or so. And so, yeah, so let's get some geraniums, pop them out of the ground, put them into paper bags, and store them away for the winter. All right, so I have gone ahead and dug out some of the geraniums. And like I said, I haven't done this before, but from what I've read, what we need to do is trim them back. So cut off, obviously, the bloom stalk because we don't need those. And trim them back if they're too tall and lanky like this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I have a few different paper bags here. On them I'm going to write what color it is because honestly I grew these from seed and I don't remember the exact variety type. And then we'll see how this does, and I'll give you an update in spring. All right. Here. So I have cut off all or most of the leaves because those are going to die off anyway. And so basically I'm just putting the stem and the roots into the paper bag. 5 fairly full bags of geraniums. So like I said, I'm going to store this in a cool, dry place in our basement. I'll check on them periodically, and then we'll pull them out in the spring and see how we did. So I'll give you guys an update then. And that is all we have for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get back to you as best I can. And we'll see you in the next one.